major thing that you need as a crochet artist: yarn winders, knitting machines, all the Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome to another series of crochet talks with Kimberly. So in this series we talk about crochet, we talk about everything surrounding crochet. Crochet talks is where we rant, where we talk, where we discuss, where we dissect everything that has to do with crochet. So welcome guys to another episode. Today's video is going to be, is crochet really expensive, and why? So let's dive right into it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe, I'm waiting for you. Go and subscribe now. Subscribe and like this video. Thank you guys so much. So when I sit down, I mean business. So this is for all the beginner crochet, and even if you're advanced, you can just listen to this video. So a lot of people ask the question, that is crochet expensive? Why is crochet so expensive? And in my opinion, I believe crochet can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. So let's talk about some few points that I feel makes crochet look a little bit expensive side. So first of all, tools. I don't think you need all those fancy stuff. Every fancy stuff, apart from your hooks and your basic tools, you don't need fancy stuff. All is just for show off. You do not need fancy equipment, yarn winders and stuff like that. You don't need all those overpricey tools. You don't need your hook. I believe crochet is just about the hook. I believe the most important tool that I have currently is my hooks. I don't have any other important tools that I would say I cannot live with. You don't need all those fancy stuff. You don't need to get yarn winders, knitting machines, all those fancy equipment. You don't need them. The most important tool you need is your hook, your different hook sizes. These are the most important things. A pair of scissors. Everybody literally has a scissors in their house. I don't think there's anybody that will say I don't have a scissors in my house. Measuring tape, you can always get that for your local store, and I'm not even sure that's expensive. And there are also kits that come, like all these things come in like the beginner crochet set kits if you're trying to get one. So those are that's the most important thing that I really think that we need. There's no fancy stuff. You don't need to overbuy. That's when the point of crochet can be expensive, when you begin to overbuy stuff like this. So that brings us to our second yarns. The most expensive and most pricey thing about crochet are the types of yarns that you use. Your hooks are going to last forever. You can use one set of hooks for like 10 years and even more. Maybe the more you go, the more you can now start buying more hooks. So one of the very first things you should be asking yourself when you want to start getting equipments and supplies for crochet is, are you crocheting as a brand or you're crocheting for a hobby? Because these things are basically two different things. So when you're crocheting for a brand, it's totally different because it requires a level of more expenses compared to when you're crocheting as a hobby. As a hobby, you are making things that you want to, so you don't have to get like so much equipment. Your hooks are enough. Everybody has a scissors in their house. Like there's always a measuring tape in your local store, and all those fancy stuff like yarn winders and yarn knitting machines and all those fancy stuff, you don't really need it when you're starting or when you're making a hobby out of crochet. You can get it on the long run. It depends on your budget and what you want, but those are not necessary to like learn how to crochet. Then if you're crocheting for a brand, there are It's basically still the same thing, because the major thing that you need as a crochet artist is your hooks. That is the major thing that you need. You don't even need any other thing. You don't need any other thing. Everybody has the scissors in their house. So your hooks has to be one of the major things that you need as a crochet artist. Your different sizes of hooks based on the type of project that you're going to be working with. So that brings us to our next point: yarns. You don't need expensive yarns. As a beginner crocheter, you don't have any business with t-shirt yarns. You don't have any business with silver yarns, all those like glittering accessories yarns and the rest. And especially for those of us that are in Nigeria, to even get your hands on foreign yarn takes a lot, because they are not manufactured here in Nigeria. You have to like import them, and we all know how expensive it is to order something, to pay for the shipping fee and the rest. So as a beginner crocheter, you don't need to be working with that kind of yarns. You don't need them because they are really expensive. Yarn is expensive, especially foreign yarn. So I use our Nigerian brand here, Yay Yarn, and that yarn works magic. Like that yarn works magic. Believe you have not learned how many ways that yarn can be so diverse. It's one of the best yarns we have in Nigeria, and other people in Africa also use that brand too. So stick with your local crochet yarn, and the more you go, then the more you can. The more you grow, you can then begin to use, begin to increase and like use other brands. So I'm waiting for the vehicle to pass, so it's not making PPP more. I'm talking. God, please. I cannot believe I'll be hearing all this sound like this, like even staying inside my house in this estate. It's just so noisy. When I go back to listen to the video, I'm like, what's all this noise? What's all this commotion? So you don't need fancy yarns. You need to learn how to use your basic yarns before you start getting into the more expensive yarns. Because the more expensive yarns you have, the more like you're just going to stack them up. So for my final point, you don't have to bulk buy. I don't know what beginners and crochet artists that they want to stock a stash of yarn behind them. It's cute, but as a beginner, you do not need that. You can buy your yarns as you work on your project. You don't have to like stack up all the different colors of yarns in your house or use them to make a shelf. It's fine if you can afford to do that, but it's not necessary. So just bring it back to the point I made earlier. Crochet is not expensive, but it can be. So it varies with how you want and what's the purpose of you crocheting. But if you know you're crocheting for hobby, it's going to be lesser than if you're crocheting for a brand, because there are other things involved when crocheting for a brand. So I'm going to make another video talking about what are the things involved when it comes to crocheting for a brand, as somebody that has been crocheting as a brand for the past like 3 years now. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video, and I hope this shed some light on crochet is not expensive. It's one of the cheapest crafts compared to other crafts, because you don't need so much tools to start it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode of Crochet Talks. And so if you have any questions about crocheting, or you have anything that you want me to talk about, or you have anything at all that you want to ask, I'll be in the comment section. Just drop your answer, just drop your questions, and I will be willing to answer them all. So see you guys in my next video. Bye.